You've been seeking answers from every dermatologist, doctor, and all over the internet wondering what on earth this unbearable skin issue is. You know something's up, and you've been suffering and silenced for far too long. This podcast is going to bring awareness to the brutal reality that is topical steroid addiction and withdrawal syndrome. It will give you practical mental and physical tips to help you along your journey and provide you the strength you need to push through each day. You'll hear from real people battling this illness, as well as experts in the field, and I'm also going to share with you what's happening as I battle and conquer TSW. You are not alone, you're not crazy, and you will heal. If there's one thing I know, it's that anyone going through this hell is a warrior. My name is Jennifer Powers, and I welcome you to TSW Journey to Healing. Hey, how's it going? All right, you're back for part 2 of my story. So if you missed last episode, go back to episode 2, and it's called Ring Any Bells? My Backstory Part 1. And I think that'll be helpful if you are, wanting to connect some dots. Maybe you, like me, got diagnosed with something like eczema as a kid, and you had this whole journey of medications and ointments and lotions and potions and recommended medications from your doctor or dermatologist. And then you grew up a little bit, teenager, 20-something, 30-something, beyond a grown adult, and you're like, wait a second, what is this? This is not eczema. So I'm going to pick up where I left off, and I'm going to try to continue the story and tell you, part 1 was really my childhood, adolescent, young adult life, still thinking that I was dealing with eczema. Part 2, right now, I'm going to share with you when I discovered what TSW is and how that kind of unfolded. And again, that may resonate with you, or maybe you're listening to the show and you are like still thinking that you maybe just have eczema or psoriasis or some kind of itchy rash, something that you don't know of, but it seems a little bit different. And if that's you, brace yourself, because shit's about to get real. So, I think I left off in the last episode. I told you that I got married and divorced, and that all happened right after college, really, for me. But I had more stress, shocker, in my life after that point. And so right when I was about 23, I was 23 when I found out I was pregnant. So I had been with my boyfriend for a few years, definitely thought we were eventually going to get married anyway. And shocker, I got pregnant and I was scared to death. I was raised Catholic. I have a wonderful, wonderful, amazing and supportive family, but I'm very traditional and old school. And so this was definitely not what I had thought my life was going to look like. And, you're still a kid at 23. I look back now and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy that I had a baby at 24 years old and pregnant at 23. Like I just graduated college at 22. I had only been in the corporate world for 1 year, got a job, right out of college. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? What the F? Oh my God. But of course I had my son, who has been I could get choked up, which I'm not going to do right now. We'll talk about him in another episode, but he is the light of my life, and he made me who I am today. And I know that sounds cheesy, and I'm sure if you're listening to this and you don't have kids, you're like, yeah, everybody says that. I get it. I would be thinking the same thing. But I was a completely different person before I had my son. And it's not just because becoming a mother, obviously you go through this whole transformation. It's an emotional journey. It's a physical journey. It's all the things. But I was playing really small in life. I wasn't playing big. I wasn't taking ownership or accountability of my choices and my life and the results of my life until I had him. And so I'm going to talk about that I'm going to dedicate a whole episode just to that. But let me just say that without giving you too much of the dirt, from the time that I was pregnant and then got engaged quickly, a month or so after finding that out, planning a wedding while being pregnant, I don't recommend. It was incredibly stressful, very much so. And I had my son in May, and my wedding was in November. So he was at my wedding. We had a cute little slow dance, me and him. It was pretty amazing. And, but then just a couple months after my wedding, I found out some crazy news and that involved my husband and some business. And again, we're not going to get into all that right now, but let's just say it was another huge shock of my life. I felt like the carpet was being ripped out underneath me. I felt like I was losing air. I couldn't breathe. It was just like, it was so chaotic. And from that point on, my relationship, my marriage started to take a downward turn. I was really trying to fight for something that really wasn't meant to be. And that was really excruciatingly painful. I am traditional and I am old school. And I was the girl that always said, I will never get divorced. I will be happily married. I'll have 3 kids under the age of 30. I'll be this cool, hot young mom. That's like silly as that sounds. That's what I thought. And, and it just didn't work out like that. God had different plans for my life. And it was hard as somebody who likes to control things to learn that I actually don't have control over a lot of things in my life. And you have to play the cards that you're dealt with. You got to play your hand. And so it was my 20s in general. I would summarize them as an entire crazy stress ball. It was just an avalanche of stress. When things started to turn around, turn a corner, something else would happen. And it was really hard. And again, if not for having my son, which, your child, you don't have a kid to give yourself a distraction from life, but he was the only thing that kept me hanging on, that kept me persevering, pushing through each day. Like it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me for so many reasons. So, things happened, with my ex-husband, and I'm not going to get into that here and now, but, long story short, that resulted in a really, really nasty, volatile divorce. That process was like the most painful thing up at that point in my life that I had ever gone through. Never anticipated such a thing. I don't think anyone gets married thinking, oh, maybe we will get divorced. But it was really, really, truly terrible. It was really, well, we won't go into that. So yeah, it was bad. I'm happy to say that now today, things are much more smooth on that end, which anybody that gets divorced, that's the only thing you can ever hope for, right? You want to co-parent and be friends or friendly at the least. And, and just get along, because it's a tragic and terrible thing for the children or the child and for the, of course, for the people involved, the parties involved. But anyway, that was happening all in my 20s. Now, during that time, I got involved in network marketing when I was still married. So I had a business, funny enough, in skincare. And I just always thought that even though I, took care of my skin and took care of myself, I thought that I was never a product person. I wasn't really obsessed with any kind of product. I'm just not that kind of girl. Anytime I'd put anything on my skin, I just always kind of felt deep down that it wasn't just skin deep. It was an internal issue. Anything that I ever had, like when I had a flare up, I just always thought like, gosh, what is the reason for this? And it drove me crazy. Okay. It just always drove me crazy. So anywho, at this time, now I'm divorced. Okay. I officially was divorced and had moved out, started over, got a new house, moved into my new place at 29 years old. I think I was 29. And so my son's about 4.5 years old at this time. And it was a new beginning. And I told myself, no dating for at least I really even said, I think 2 years. Now, I didn't totally listen to that advice. Okay. I definitely wanted to get out there and feel young and alive and sexy and all those things. Right. And so get on the dating apps, did that for a little while. Nothing serious though. I made a very strong commitment to myself that I was not at all going to get into anything serious, because I really thought I was so darn young when I met my ex. I was very, very young to get married. I was super young to have a kid. And I needed to learn, I needed to discover who the heck I was and take a completely new approach to living my life and learning what my passions were and learning and rediscovering who is Jen. And that might sound a little like out there or whatever, but I, as somebody right now who's incredibly self-aware, I was not that person always. And I was really looking forward to, in a way, just trying to take all the stress and the drama and anything out of my life and going inward and really focusing on what makes me happy. What do I want to fulfill my own needs? Because I'm a big believer, you can't, unless you can completely be okay on your own and you can take care of yourself and you can make yourself happy and you really prioritize you can't really it's not fair to bring anybody else into the equation. And if you're looking for anybody else or anything to fulfill all of your needs, you're going to be miserable your whole life. Okay. So I was wrapping my brain around all this self-development and personal development and all these things and figuring out, what do I want to do with my life? Do I have to get a job? Am I going to be able to continue working this business from home so that I can be present for my son, etc.? So this was like a really, again, more stress. Even though I was trying to take the stress away, I was in survival mode. I was trying to pay for my divorce. I was trying to pay to survive and pay for my new home and do that, and not just pay and be able to afford living, but what made me happy? What made me happy? Because it's not just about the Benjamins. It's not just about making the money and bringing the dollar bills home. It's like, what is really going to make me happy and fulfilled? I thought about all those things. I thought about, profession. I thought about my love life. I thought about my friendships. I thought about all of my relationships, even relationships with family members. Like, what did I really want this new life to look like? And how did I want to go about each and every single day taking care of Jen? So it was nice. It was stressful. It was sad. I was heartbroken. I was so happy. I went through all these different emotions. And during that time, I flared up here and there and whatever. So we're going to fast forward a little bit in time now. And I'm going to tell you that when I started to notice that things were different, something was very off, okay? I started, I think it was, let me think. I think it was 3 summers ago, okay? So right now, it's springtime, but so we're going back to, and it's 2022. So we're probably going back to before, it definitely was before the pandemic. So it was probably 2018 or 2019. Probably 2019, I would guess. And my family got a beach house, shout out Ocean City, New Jersey, my second home away from home. And we got this house on the bay, beautiful home. It was so great because, every single summer, my family, since I was a baby, since I was a little kid, we would always go to the Jersey Shore for summer vacation. So it was usually just a week, maybe a week and a half to 2 weeks, very randomly. It was usually always a week. And we'd get a rental. It was great. Okay. So if you're on the East Coast, then you definitely know what I'm talking about with the Jersey Shore. And no, it's not like the show on MTV, Jersey Shore, not at that shore point anyway, not at the shore points that I went to, but all good fun, really great times, great memories. So we finally get our own place and it's amazing. And I'm so happy being down there by the beach, by the ocean, by the bay. It was just great. But I noticed, 2019, I think it was, where it was, I think July. And I just remember walking down the steps one morning and my entire neck from my jawline to kind of, if you could picture wearing a collar or like just a rounded neck t-shirt. Okay. So where your neck is exposed in a round neck t-shirt and your jawline, and wrapping behind my ears and around the back of my neck, it was bright red, like fire engine red. And it was like hot. I think it was hot to touch if I remember. I'm sure it was really, really itchy. And I just looked in the mirror. I'm like, wait, what is this? Right? Because as somebody who's had eczema her entire life, I know what it's like. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. And this just felt different. And I'm like, this is alarming. Did I have an allergic reaction to something? What is going on? So I literally drove an hour and a half home to go to make an emergency dermatology appointment. And my dermatologist looked at my neck and was kind of confused. He was like scratching his head and he's like, I agree. This doesn't look like eczema. Maybe it's lupus. Maybe it's this thing, that thing. So he's like, let's put you on a steroid to calm down whatever this is. Just frustrates me even saying that out loud. But in the meantime, let's get your ANA levels checked. So let's check you for some autoimmune conditions or diseases and see what that's about. So I go get the blood work. It comes back irregular or abnormal, which they say it's a very faulty, fickle kind of test. I go back a week later, get the test, says everything's fine. So nothing conclusive. And eventually, I took the steroid, goes away. And that was that. And then next summer, and of course, during that year, winter and everything, there were flare-ups, this thing and that thing. But then it was the summer of 2020 that something else, another weird rash happened. But I have to tell you, everything kind of came to a head. And here's where the juicy part, here's where it all comes down for me discovering what this is. 2021. What a shit show of a year. To name a few of my high stress triggers, there was the death of our family dog, Golden Doodle, named Rocky. He was such a joy. My grandfather, who I was super close to, passes away. And in the time that my grandfather was in the hospital and then home, it was only a few days from the time that he fell to when he passed away on hospice. My dad had his second go-abouts with cancer. He had bladder cancer and had this crazy, intense surgery. So while my mother was visiting her dad, my grandfather, trying to take care of him or be there for him, I was going to my parents' house to help my dad. He had to, did lots of catheter stuff and movement and just lots of rest, and had to have somebody, bring him food and everything. So that was my job. So I was doing that. And, it was just, when I look back, my God, what an intense year for any one person to have to go through all of these difficult, really, really painful, really difficult things. So I'm sure that, of course, added to my condition and all of this kind of unfolding for me. Summer of 2021. Okay, I am down the shore. I'm living down the shore for the entire summer. So I'm at our beach house from June, July, and August. And in June, I was having some issues, which I just choked up to it, more eczema, flare-ups, this and that. Wasn't so bad though. It was like normal. And then in July, my good friend Jess, who has been living in London now for five plus years or something like that, she comes home. She stays with me for a couple days at the beach house, at our shore house. And I'm going to get graphic with you here, but she came over, we go to sleep one night. She wakes up, she knocks on my door, she comes into my room in the morning, and I sat up in bed and my shirt was literally stuck to me. And to the point where I leaned up and I was like, ooh, ow, ow, ow. And it felt like I slept in like a t-shirt, I think. My t-shirt was literally stuck to my chest. So I started to pull the shirt away and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. My skin was literally stuck to the shirt. And when I say my chest, you're guessing right without me saying it, like my chest, like my actual chest. And then, yeah. And when I pulled the shirt away, it literally like ripped my skin, like hurt. My skin was like, and I'm like looking and I'm like, it's like crusted. It was like dry. I know this is TMI, lots of information here, but I'm keeping it real with you. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I sit up and then I grab something felt weird around my neck. So I reached my left hand right back to the left side of my neck, like the back of my neck. And it was soaking wet, but not wet like sweat. It wasn't even on the right side. It was only on the left side, behind my left ear, wrapping around my neck. And I'm like, what is this? I pulled my hand away, I look at my hand and it's wet. It looks like water, right? There's no like pus. There was nothing like gross and slimy or nasty. It just was wet, but I knew, I'm like, well, it's not sweat. It was just so bizarre. I can't even explain it. Now, Jess goes downstairs to be with my family. And I'm like, I got to take a shower. I feel disgusting and I don't even know what's going on. So I jump in the shower. Okay. All right. So that was that. Days would go by and I was starting to like see that like certain areas were like kind of like cracked and like crusty, like near my neck or my insides of my elbows again. And I'm like, this again seems different. This is not eczema. Like, what is this? So I go to the I call my dermatologist. What do you think I get? More steroids. Okay. So that happened from July through August, but it was starting to get worse. July into August got worse. August into September got really bad to the point where I'm back home in PA now. My son's back in school. Okay. And I go to an urgent care one day because I was like, I don't know what's going on. And I have a wedding to go to. A family member was getting married in September. I think it was September 10th. And I was like, I'm not going like this. I'm embarrassed. I need to like look, I got a little tan in the sunshine in the summer. And so I felt good with that, but my skin was just flaring up like crazy. It was dry. It looked old. It was like aging me. And it was so god awful uncomfortable. So I go to an urgent care and I do what I do in my desperate state. I say, hey, I need some help. You need to give me some drugs. And they said, okay, what do you usually take for this? What do you usually do for this? And I would say, well, easy peasy. I always get prednisone when things get really bad. So without even asking me any question at all, this doctor was like, okay, no problem. I'll give you a 10-day supply of prednisone. I think it was 30 milligrams, or I don't remember exactly the dosage. But I said, okay, so I'm going to start it now, and then I should be good to go to this wedding. So before I continue, let me just say I'm not coming down this podcast here. I'm going to have doctors on this show. We need doctors. Doctors are absolutely needed. It is when you get a good doctor, oh my gosh, it's the most amazing thing. But doctors are human beings, meaning they're not God, meaning they don't have all the answers, meaning they are people, and people can make mistakes. And I'm not blaming this doctor. I'm not blaming any of the doctors that ever worked with me in my entire life, childhood, adulthood, whatever. But I will say that I have a huge problem, with doctors that are basically allowing their patients to prescribe things for themselves without asking lots of follow-up questions. Okay. And I know you might be somebody like, no, I love that. Like, I love that I can call my doctor and get what I need, just call it right in, get the order, or they don't ask me a lot of questions. I get it. I totally get you on that. Believe me, there's nothing more annoying and frustrating when you have to wait forever in a waiting room and then you get in and then the doctor's just really making it difficult for you. But when there's something like this, when it's a steroid drug, when it is something, and here's the reality, every single drug, even if it's pain medicine over the counter, Tylenol, whatever, everything can have side effects, right? So it's just important that we recognize that no one's a one size fits all, and that what works for one may not work for another. And unfortunately, and it's not the doctor's fault. They are on a clock. They have time. They have lots of patients to see, and they can only work with what they can work with in the time frame that they can. I wish it could be different. I wish that there were more doctors that were so invested in each individual patient. And anyway, there was my little tangent for a second. So I, get on the prednisone, and I have taken this drug, keep this in mind, so many times since, early teen, probably since my teens, definitely in my teens, definitely took it in high school a bunch, definitely took it in college a bunch, took it on my honeymoon. Okay. I went to Hawaii and my skin flared up so bad there that I called it in and got it sent to Hawaii, and I got it in Hawaii. I've taken this drug, and this drug can be super, super, damaging to your liver, your kidneys. It is not one that you don't pop it, take it like a candy. Okay. They even tell you really once a year, try to no more than that if you have to. Right. So it is really strong. Well, I took it, and every time in the past that I would take it, it would clear me up. My skin would be glowing and beautiful. That's why I always used to joke, it's my drug of choice. That's what I used to say. And it always worked. And not only did it work, but it kept my symptoms away. It kept flare-ups gone for months, if not longer, right? This time I take it, and about, I don't know, in the middle of it. So it was a 10-day supply, 10-day dose, probably around day 5 or 6, everything started coming right back. It stopped working. And this is a potent drug. So this is the first time in my entire life that this ever happened. And I thought, whoa, like, what is really wrong with me? Like, this is the first time where I'm like, okay, I'm a little scared now. And I ended up going to this wedding, and I ended up I wore a real cute dress that I bought online, and I had a great time. But I was, in the back of my mind, I was like, what? Why am I not completely perfect? Like, perfect, flawless skin. Like, why is this? I was still itchy. I was a little uncomfortable. Now, I wasn't looking my worst because it was still, I guess, working a little bit, but it really wasn't taking the edge off or doing what it used to do for me. So after that happened, that's when I started to be like raising my eyebrow, like, okay, I don't think this is just eczema, and I don't know what it is, and I want to figure it out. So I go to make another dermatologist appointment, and now we're in October. And I get a biopsy taken because they see how bad it is, and they're concerned, and they want to check, for lymphoma and cancers and all the scary things that nobody wants to hear a doctor say they're looking for. But you're grateful, right? You're going to be careful. They're going to cover all the bases, make sure you don't have anything really serious to worry about. I get the biopsy done, and it comes back negative for all serious, like no cancers. But the word that she told me was some really crazy, long kind of eczema. And I said, well, what is that? What does that mean? And she said, well, it's basically an eczema that's non-responsive to treatment. So that made me really upset and also very confused. So I asked her, what did she suggest I do? And she's, of course, saying, I was on every single, tretinoin, doxycycline. I was on all these different steroid drugs over the course of however many months. And she said, there's this new doctor in Chicago, and he's coming up with this new compound, and it'll be expensive, but it might be worth a try. And she said it's not a super, super strong steroid, but people are getting great results from it. And I was so desperate. I was like, yes, sign me up. Let's do it. So I pay a ridiculous amount of money. I get this gigantic tub of cream sent to me. I can't remember the name of it. I have pictures of it and stuff. But I start using it, and it doesn't do anything. It literally isn't doing anything. And I'm shocked. Then my mom's now going crazy. She's like trying so hard to figure out what's going on. She's being a little investigator with me, and we're Googling and researching and calling different doctors. And I made an appointment with a naturopath doctor. I made an appointment with a holistic doctor. I made my chiropractor appointment. I made what's the name of it? Oh, goodness gracious. I can't think now, but it is a couple other kind of doctors where they're supposedly there to figure out what the root cause of issues are. Okay. Can't believe I'm spacing right now, but whatever. And, I made all these different doctor appointments, and I got tons of blood work, so many blood panels drawn. And then I made an allergy appointment. Okay. I tried to see if I was allergic, if it was contact dermatitis of some kind, what was going on, allergic reactions. I did all of this. And then I was like, okay, let me make an appointment at University of Penn. Okay, I happen to live in one of the greatest areas where I'm surrounded by the best children's hospital and the best regular hospitals. And so I look up and I see that there is a dermatologist at Pennsylvania Hospital, and he's on the board of, I think, the Eczema Association or something like that. And he's also in the infectious disease department. So this guy sounded like, all right, he's going to help me. And I go down there, and he just kind of looks at me, and we talked, and he said, I'm so sorry, but in the last 60 years, there have been little to no advancements on eczema and atopic dermatitis. And unfortunately, we don't have a good solution for you. Like, he's like, there's no cure. We can't help. There is a new drug that you might have seen on commercials on the television, and it's dupixent, which was originally created for asthma, but now we're finding that it's helping people with eczema. So it's an injection. You give it, you come and get it, like, I think twice a month. The side effects are, and then of course he goes down the list, right? Side effects usually are just mild eye irritation. They could be, though, as serious as blindness or cancer or whatever. And I just immediately am like, no, I'm done. At this point, I am so done with trying to pop a pill, a lotion, a potion, an ointment, any kind of I'm like, tell me why I am having this issue and tell me what this is, because this doesn't feel like eczema to me. I was so frustrated. And I walked out of that office. My dad actually took me to that appointment and came in with me. And I just remember we got in the car. I was silent. I wasn't saying anything. And I'm a talker. And he just said to me, he's like, I'm really sorry that we didn't hear anything that you wanted to hear. And I just was like, yep. And I looked out the window and I cried silently, because I'm one of those weirdos where I'm just such a tough cookie, and I don't like, I don't like showing my, crying is not weakness at all. It's taken me a long time to learn that, but it was just hard. It was just so hard. And also I'm the firstborn child, so I try to protect my parents, and I want to be the strong one. That's just my role. But I was falling apart inside. I felt like, this sucks. Like, I want to just live my life. I want to be normal. I want to know what the real issue is here. I'm a really healthy person. I exercise. I eat organic. I'm doing all the right things on paper. So why am I having all these issues? Like, what is going on inside of my body? What is this? And, I don't know. That was probably November at this point, and beginning of November. And it was sometime around then that I just was like, you know what? I'm not calling one more doctor. I'm not doing it. I Googled, I went on the web, I go on social media, and I will not forget it. It was some woman's account, and I typed in, I think I was looking up hashtags, and I looked in like eczema or something. And somehow I get to this account where it says eczema and TSW. And I read the bio, and it was like recovery in TSW for X amount of months. And like the hashtag was, this is not eczema. And I was like, wait, what is this? And I look at all these pictures and I go, oh my gosh, she looks just like me. This is crazy. What is this? So I go down the rabbit hole, and I remember, I should probably find the text message if I still have it and screenshot it and put it on the blog. But I remember texting my mom and saying, oh my God, I know what's wrong with me. This is not eczema. This is topical steroid addiction. And she was like, what? And my jaw hit the floor. Like, I did not know that this was a thing. And not one of these doctors, not one of them, not one, had asked me any questions about the medications that I have taken recently or in the past, or at what time frame or anything like that. And they never mentioned that at all, that I could be having a reaction to the medications that they themselves, in fact, gave to me to help, quote, help me with my eczema. And so that was a big, like, wow moment for me. I ended up getting COVID with my dad got it too. So we are actually roommates for about a week. He lived with me for a week while my son stayed with my mother. And that was right over Thanksgiving. So we're in 2021, November 2021, over Thanksgiving. I lost my taste. I couldn't eat my wonderful Thanksgiving meal. And I remember my boyfriend coming over my house a week before I got COVID. And I was in the fetal position on my couch, and I was in so much pain. So much pain. I was shaking all over. I was freezing cold and then burning hot. I was scratching myself raw to the point where, my skin, there was very few inches of my skin that were not ripped open and scratched all over with like dried blood or actively bleeding. And it was awful. I'm going to do another episode and bring on lots of guests to talk about the exact symptoms and rather than do that right here, right now. But I will tell you, it was awful. There was a night that I'm trying to forget, where I was on my couch. It was 2:45, 3 in the morning, and I had 15 different ice packs all over me with a blanket on top because I was freezing, and I was crying out to God. And I even texted my mother and said, I wish that you were here right now. And I am a very strong single mom, and I do not ask for help. It's not a good thing. I'm not so proud of that, because there's nothing wrong with asking for help when you need it. But I really was scared. If my son wasn't with me, I had some very dark and suicidal thoughts. I really did. And I am a woman of faith. I am not here for that. But I had some really dark moments because of how weak and how crippled I was really feeling. So, and I say that to just say that if you have had those thoughts, don't beat yourself up, because we're human, and this is extremely, extremely difficult and painful. So that all happened in November, and that's when I really figured it out what this thing was. And I continued to do research. And as of December 1st, 2021, I have not touched a steroid or ingested a steroid since. So, we're going into month 5 here for me, and it's been a journey. So now that this has been kind of a long-ish episode, I'm going to wrap things up, but I will be telling you, I will tell you about my lowest points. I'm still in it. I'm still going through it. It's not over yet for me. And so I'm going to continue to document this journey for you and for anyone that, if you want to listen and share this with anyone else. But I will tell you that night, I just want to say how important it is to connect with people that understand and can kind of feel your pain and go there with you. And if you want me to be that person for you, I am so here for that. That night that my mom was sleeping and I texted her, I actually went on the Facebook group. It's called Eczema, and it's for topical steroid addiction and withdrawal. It's a support group. And I had only found out about that by, believe it or not, from my cousin's husband. When I told them what I was kind of going through, he found it and he sent it to me, and I got immediately in that group, and there was about 12,000 people in there. And I think right now at the time of this recording, there's over 13,000 people. And I messaged 2 or 3 people, just strangers who I'd never talked to before. And one of them was awake, or whatever part of the world she was in. And she talked to me for a good hour while I was in excruciating discomfort and pain and having those really, really terrible thoughts. And she pulled my mind out of that dark hole. And I could get emotional thinking about this, because this woman is a stranger. Okay. I didn't know her. I didn't know any of these people in this group. But to know that you are not alone in this suffering is, you can love and hate social media, whatever. But one of the great things about the time and age that we're living in is that you can be connected. And I am forever grateful for that, and continue to be grateful for that. And that's another huge reason why it is my mission to do what I'm doing here on this podcast, and to create what I'm creating, and to be a voice, and to let you know that you're not alone, and you're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. I believe that. I know that. And so that was my quick backstory. I'm sure I'll be filling in many more holes that I left out and more details as we go along, but I just wanted to give you, shed some light on who the heck I am, and where I've been, and where I'm at now, and where I'm going to go. And I'm going to go there with you. I'm going to take you along for the ride. So I want to thank you for being here. Again, please remember to subscribe to the show. Please leave feedback. You can leave questions. You can reach out if you want to be a guest on this show. I'd love to have you. And share the word, spread the word. Even if you somehow are listening to this, maybe you know me, maybe you're just trying to catch up on what I'm up to in my life right now, or maybe you just randomly found the show and this maybe isn't your issue. You'd be so surprised how many people that are in your life, in your circle, or distant friends or whatever, that are going through something similar to this, or going through something that they don't really know what it is, and it could be TSW. If you share this, you can change somebody's life. So I want to encourage you to do that, and I want to thank you again for being here. It means a whole lot to me. Please remember to check out the blog, where I have even a shop section on there. So if there's I just basically am listing products that have worked for me and have helped me. I mean, nothing's going to be a quick fix, and nothing's going to work for everybody. But if you are looking for some ideas, or you're feeling desperate, and you can always check that out. You can check out for free resources and all that. It's tswjourneytohealing.com. And I will see you on the next episode.